Hi everyone, welcome. I have a short practice to share with you today. We're going to do a few different postures or movements in a quadruped or all fours position, hands and knees on the floor, in other words. I know this isn't a position that works for everyone. There are ways you can adapt some of these movements for other positions, but if all fours is not a good position for you, please stay tuned to this channel this month. I'll be offering lots of different ways to get healthy movement throughout the whole body in a whole bunch of different positions. So stay tuned if this isn't for you. If this is for you and you want to give it a try, you don't need much. We're going to be on all fours. If you want to pad your knees, grab a blanket or a shirt or a towel or something to put underneath your knees for padding. And if you have either a small ball, not too small, or a foam roller, you could grab that. We're going to use that for the final posture that we're doing. And if you don't have one, no worries. You can play along without, but it is really, really helpful to have something that rolls on the floor. So you're going to grab that if you have it. And we're going to come into all fours. Feel free to pad your knees. And feel free to adjust if this isn't the best position for your hands. Some people will find that it works best to do some of these movements more up on the fist so that the angle of the wrist is changed. Some of us are going to feel better if we take the hands wider, a little bit forward to the shoulders, rotate out. So play with what works for you. We're going to start by feeling into your weight and bringing your weight as much as you can even from side to side and front to back so that you're equally grounded through both hands and both knees. Notice if you're holding tension in your abdominal muscles and see if you can let that soften a little bit or maybe a lot. Now, if you have pain, you might hold a little bit of tension there if it relieves some of that pain. Otherwise, you might just let that go to the extent that it feels doable for you right now. We're going to start with a shoulder movement here. So for this, you're going to keep the elbows the same as they are, straightish. If they're bent, you're going to keep the bend the same throughout the movement. And this is not a cat and cow if you're familiar with that, so we're not moving the spine here. First thing you're going to do is think about the shoulder blades coming in towards each other on the back as the rib cage comes down towards the floor. However, we're not doing a cow pose, so we're not lifting up through the head and tail. We're just letting the whole rib cage come down as the shoulder blades come in towards the spine. And then press the earth away. Let the shoulder blades come wider on the back, lifting up that space between the shoulder blades. So this is mostly about the shoulder blade movement. Feeling those blades sliding in towards the center of the spine and then out towards the outer edges of the back, nice and easy and smooth if you can. And you're going to pay attention to what the elbows want to do, because sometimes we will compensate with the elbows when the shoulder blades don't move well. If this feels challenging for you, no worries. Shoulder blades tend to get underused a lot of the time in our daily lives, so it can take a little bit of work to connect with them. That's okay. Take your time. Okay if this is small. Notice if you're straining to make the movement bigger, and see if you can keep it nice and small. Maybe finding a little work in the arms as you push the earth away. Staying tuned into sensations and noticing if you want to grip or tighten anywhere. When you feel done with this, we're going to come into a posture that's restful. So that could be child's if you want to bring your hips back towards your heels any amount and bring your forehead down. Hips can be elevated if that's more comfortable, or you might just come to sit in any comfortable sitting position. Take a few breaths, let your hands rest. Notice what you feel after getting all this movement through your shoulder blades. And particularly, you might notice sensations through the upper body, but you also can tune in to what else is going on after we do those movements. And then when you're ready, we're going to come back to that quadruped or tabletop, hands and knees on the floor. And we're going to now move the whole spine. So cat and cow, but if you find yourself rushing into it, slow down, come back into the moment, get yourself set up well. So figuring out where you want your hands and knees. Taking a few breaths to soften if you're holding in through the abdomen a little bit. And then we're going to think about this movement going segment by segment, nice and slow, starting from the tailbone, heading up towards the crown of the head. Take an inhale where you are. As you exhale, you'll begin to curl the tailbone under. And then little by little, let that movement travel up the spine. The spine is all interconnected, so you won't be able to move one joint at a time. But we're really going to try to keep this movement segmental as we go here. There are lots of ways to do cat and cow, so this is not the only one. But just for our purposes today, we're playing with this more segmental movement, really feeling how that movement goes through the spine. And you might notice some parts of your spine are stiffer than others, and that's actually normal and structural and not necessarily a problem. That being said, we want to try to get movement out of those parts of the spine that are quieter. And maybe not overwork, if you are, through parts of the spine that are a little more mobile, so that we're sharing the work of this movement through the whole spine to the extent that that feels appropriate. So it's not that every joint of the spine will move the same, because that won't happen structurally speaking, but that we're really taking the time to allow the whole spine to participate in the movement of cat and cow, right? You can take longer than one breath for each movement. You can pause and feel at any point along the way. Stay tuned into what you feel in your body. If you start to feel like this is enough time for me on the hands and knees, this is enough spinal movement for me right now, find your more restful posture, whether that's seated or child's pose, or maybe you're going to lie down for a moment. Take a moment then to just breathe and feel. So you're noticing what's going on, having gotten the spine moving a little bit, tuning into how your breath feels, and what else is going on here. We'll take a couple more breaths. And then we're going to come back into that quadruped position. We're going to work in the lower body now, feeling into some movement through the hips and the ankles and the knees, for that matter. And we're going to feel into how you're creating stability now in this quadruped position. So we're going to come back to all fours, hands and knees on the ground. Taking your time to set yourself up well. Find your weight evenly balanced side to side and front to back. If you're holding extra tension in the abdomen, see if you can let that go. And then without bracing through the abdomen, we're going to try to maintain some of that softness. You're going to really press down into the hands to create a little stability through the upper body. You're going to tuck your right toes under. You're going to keep your toes on the floor as you send that foot back. So as much as you can, you're keeping some softness through the abdomen. You may feel a response in the abdominal muscles, but we're looking for not bracing or holding the abdomen in tightly as you're going here. So maybe just a little responsive engagement as the leg comes back. You might also notice my pelvis stayed pretty still as I did this. And then I'm going to press into the hands. Toes are tucked under. I'm going to press the heel back and just stretch out a little more through the calf muscle and the bottom of the foot on this side. Seeing if I can keep the pelvis level as I do this work. Still breathing. I've got that foot on the rug and I'm feeling it slip a little bit, so that's not ideal. I probably could have come forward on my mat a little bit. That's okay. We'll take a few more breaths here, nice and easy. When you're feeling like you're done, you're going to bring that leg down. You're going to notice what happens as you bring the leg to the floor. Do you have to shift to come back onto all fours? Feel free to give the hands a break if they're feeling like they need it. If you're feeling good here, you're going to soften again through the abdomen, being really intentional about that. Find the stability through the arms and shoulders. And then tuck your left toes under, send your left foot back. Pelvis stays pretty quiet as the left leg comes back. From here, toes are tucked under on the floor. I'm just going to press back a little bit. So the heel is moving back. I'm opening up through the bottom of the foot and the back of the calf a little bit. Still breathing. Still staying really tuned in to what my body's doing, and especially if there's some fatigue building in the body, stay tuned into that. If it starts to feel like you can't maintain this position well, something's starting to happen, you're starting to sag in, you're starting to feel really uncomfortable here, then you just come out. If you're still feeling good, we're going to hold and breathe. And then when you're ready to release, we're going to see what happens as you bring that leg down. Do you need to shift? As that happens, what does that reveal, right? And then you're going to find a position that feels restful for you. So that could be child's, it could be seated, it could be lying down, whatever you like. Take a moment to let the breath quiet. And to really tune in then to what you're feeling. So things get a little more effortful. But in a way that's still pretty gentle and tuned in, hopefully. And notice the response to that in the body, in the nervous system, in the mind, the emotions, the whole self, right, is in response to what we do in our yoga practice. And we'll come into one more movement here. We're going to do a version of thread the needle. We're going to use, ideally, something that rolls on the floor in order to help kind of guide the movement of the twist in the rib cage. So if you have a foam roller, you can line it up parallel to the right side of your mat. If you have a ball, you're just going to place that ball next to your right hand. You're going to come back into your quadruped or tabletop. Take the time to get grounded, balanced between the four corners, releasing any extra tension from the pose. To do this, we're going to need to really ground down through the right hand, draw that right shoulder blade a little wider on the back so we can lift the left hand up. Left hand's going to come across onto that ball or foam roller, and then you're going to roll to the side as you twist. So here we want the legs and the pelvis to be stable and still. As we're doing this twisting motion, that movement's going to come from the rib cage. And we're just going to use the ball or the foam roller to guide the movement. Now the rib cage here is twisting around this right shoulder. So there might be movement that you're feeling with the rib cage under the shoulder blade, as well as around the shoulder joint here. When you feel complete on this side, you're going to bring both hands down. If it feels like you do better on the other side, if you rested first, please do. You're going to move your foam roller or your ball to the other side. We're going to get grounded, and then we're going to really feel that engagement through the left side so that we can lift the right side up. Hand comes to the foam roller or the ball, and then you're going to find this twist, sliding the hand out to the left. The rib cage moves around the left shoulder, feeling some movement of the shoulder on the rib cage as you go. Pelvis and legs are pretty quiet. So sometimes we'll feel some deviation happening down in the lower body, and that's curious, right? So if you can tune into that and see what happens if you quiet that, and can you find a little bit more isolated twist in the rib cage? Nothing wrong with using the hips when you twist, but sometimes it obscures what's going on in the ribs. And so if we want to focus there and get this nice spinal movement happening up around the base of the rib cage, it can be really helpful to quiet the legs and pelvis down so you can feel what's going on, right? Pay attention in your own body to when you're feeling done. And then when you're done, find a position that feels restful for you. So it could be a child, again, seated, lying down. This was the last movement that we're going to do in quadruped today. So wherever you're settling in here for a moment, feel into what's going on in your body. So for one thing, we spent a bit of time on hands and knees. So recognize, did your body have the ability to do that with ease? And if not, maybe this is a practice that you adapt or break up for yourself or do a different way. Notice how your breathing feels and how your body feels after those different movements. We worked a little bit at the ankle and foot, the hip, shoulder blades quite a bit, and then various parts of the spine. And notice how all that movement is landing for you. If you enjoyed this practice, you can integrate this whole series into your practice, or you can break these practices up and use them as needed to get all these different parts of your body moving well. I hope you enjoyed practicing with me today. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me. May we all be balanced and well. Take really good care.